Should we do like a crazy opener? Like, hey, good afternoon.
Probably not.
Okay. Well, welcome everyone to our podcast called Prone to Ponder. I'm Chris.
And I'm Colin.
It's nice to meet you, Colin.
You too, Chris. Topher.
Off to a great start.
Yeah.
Well, this is our weekly, bi-weekly?
Yeah, weekly for now.
Weekly podcast called Prone to Ponder. And if you didn't hear who that was, I'm Colin, and that is Chris. Not to confuse everybody, especially our
it's
parents.
like, what is going on?
Especially our parents. But we're just here to start and talk about our thoughts that we ponder and some of the things that are going on in the world, and hopefully you get a laugh, hopefully you learn something, and get a different perspective.
That's right.
So, on the agenda, I had an idea.
Yeah, let's talk.
Let's talk about religion.
Ooh, good one. We just watched a movie that was kind of in
not
that
even
vein.
Not even from that movie, honestly.
Well, I know, but I mean, like, just, that movie got me thinking too about. We
Yeah.
could probably talk about that. So.
Yeah. Well, we should quote the movie. So it is The Ninth Gate.
The Ninth Gate.
Which was Johnny Depp. It was very weird.
It was super weird.
I got like half of it, and you saw all of it.
Yeah.
But basically, this guy tries to find these books that like lead to the devil or to the hell. I don't know.
Yeah.
It goes someplace.
Yep.
And it had the last 20 minutes was really weird.
Wow, what a great way to start the podcast, huh? Let's talk about the devil.
Let's talk about the devil.
So what did you want to talk about? Religion.
But I wanted to get your perspective
Mm-hmm.
on religion, because we live in a day and age where there's so many different things. I was at the dinner with my mom and my girlfriend, and we were chit-chatting about just like different views and how in the world we live in now, that if like, or I should say, one of them said that like 15 years ago, there are companies out there that would be like, we will not stand for anything. Like, we don't support anything.
Right.
We don't support anything like that, because they don't want to take a stance on things, because it pulls you, which nowadays.
Now you'll get shut down if you say that.
Exactly. Now, you can't take a stance, but everybody takes a stance on whatever the narrative is.
The current narrative. Yeah,
whatever
for sure.
that narrative is. So we both grew up in churches, and we were given almost the platform of how it's going to go, about what to believe and how this goes. And that's like, I feel like that's pretty normal for the...
Yeah, I mean, that's like the point of church,
right?
And organized religion. It's like, look, this is what your ancestors believed.
Right.
And by ancestors, I mean, I'm going to say like your parents and their grandparents and so on, if that's the way that it was. It's like, this is what they believed. So here is the groundwork.
Mm-hmm.
And there you go.
Just rules from there.
Yeah, and I think one of the downsides to that is so many times organized religion and church and stuff can be, hey, here is the groundwork, and then it sort of stays there.
Right.
It's not a, here's the groundwork, now go searching for yourself.
Right.
Which, I have a problem with that, because I think you should be.
What's the problem then?
The problem being that there's no like kick in the butt. Like,
right.
There's no one to say, and I shouldn't say this, there's nobody, because there are churches out there and there are people out there who can help lead you, but so often we'll hear of stories where it's like, oh yeah, I was raised in the church, or I was raised Catholic, or I was raised Jewish, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
You have taken on what your parents taught you.
Right.
And you haven't searched for yourself, and you haven't made it your own, and you haven't looked for a relationship with who you might believe is God.
Right.
For yourself.
Right. Even when I think of like the stories in the Bible where most of them, like the goal was like, to the best of my knowledge that I know, that you learned it yourself. It was not necessarily passed down, and the people that passed it down were like, or the people that instilled it in their kids weren't very right. Like I'm talking about like the Pharisees and the people that were doing it for either selfish gain or political gain or whatever it was.
They were very to the book.
I think about like how nowadays, like going back, however, whatever you believe in is true time in history, that it's spoken down. There's a term that's called, but how the Native Americans do it, they speak through story. This is how they tell their legend, and that legend or story or whatever it is gets skewed over time. Whereas now we're translating actual documents that are 2,000 to 3,000 years old.
Yeah.
And we have no idea, like, well, this word might mean this, or it might mean that, and we totally take it a different way. And now, not to call people out, but we have like people that are interpreting the gospel or the book or whatever it is in a bad way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's always been that way, right? I mean, that's one of the fundamental, rules that Jesus gave is like, hey, watch out for the false prophets.
Right.
And it's like, hey, you have to believe God knew and knows, that there will be people out there who think they understand and don't. There will be people out there who might not even believe, but are speaking for their own gain.
Right.
Joe Austin.
What was that? I didn't hear that. And not even that. I mean, John Oliver did a great just rendition of televangelists.
Yeah.
And how
that was a good episode.
The guy, he just goes on and on and on about these televangelists that are like, if you give us your money, you will be blessed by God. Which,
we'll give you a golden ticket.
Right. We'll give you a golden ticket to heaven. Which, if you believe in that, all right. But honestly, like, I grew up on...
But that's some bullshit.
It's some bull, man. It's some bull. I just don't believe in that. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, what is my money going to get me into heaven? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. So
the whole point of Jesus coming here was the fact that we can't do it ourselves.
Right.
So my money isn't going to get me to heaven.
Right.
Right? Because, I mean, if you're a Christian, you believe what Jesus did is what's going to get you to heaven, because whatever we do, that's not enough.
Right.
And I think, some people find peace in that.
Right.
I do. Some people are like, well, that doesn't sound like a loving God then.
Right. What's the 2 coins proverb?
It's Jesus and his disciples are in the temple, and all the Pharisees like stand up and they go to the front of the temple to give their money, and they give like all this like wealthy stuff, and they're throwing in dollar bills, y'all.
Yeah.
This poor old woman walks up. She has 2 coins.
Yeah.
And drops it in. She gives that, and that's all she had.
Yeah.
And Jesus says, look at her. Like, she's doing it right.
Right.
He's like, it's not about the money, and it's not about how much you give.
Right.
It's about why you give, and the fact that you are invested
in giving that.
Right.
Right.
So,
which it gives you a different perspective on money. Where it's like, you can have all the money in the world, but if you're spending it all in the wrong place, there are some dangerous people out there that have money. But if you're only giving your all for the cars, the house, the women, whatever it is, that's not going to get you anywhere in life. It's not going to fulfill you.
Right.
Whereas, like, he points out this girl and says she's giving the only thing she has because she believes that this is going to get her to heaven, because that's what the Pharisees preached. They said, like, you need to give us your money and we'll bless you, or we'll figure out a way to get you, whatever it is.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know. I don't know enough about the Bible to say why she was giving what she was giving. But I think Jesus's point was she's giving what she has. Yeah. And she's not trying to make a spectacle out of it, which everybody else was,
Right. Which happens nowadays, too.
Which happens.
Yeah.
All
right.
Yeah. So
it just blows my mind that people preach that nowadays and use that to their own selfish gain. That where
it's so backwards.
It is. I always think of that song by Todd Agnew, My Jesus. Always.
Tune.
And he's like, I want to be like my Jesus, the one that was broken, scarred, muddy, bloody, all those things. Like, I want to be like that.
Yeah.
Because mine is not the fancy foo-foo, I've got long hair, white guy that's like, what's up, guys? My name's Jesus. It's not him. That's not him. He was a Jew. He probably had a big nose, and he had curly hair probably too. It says somewhere in the Bible, I think it's in Isaiah, that nothing about his complexion would be admiring. If you looked at him, you'd probably look away. He didn't stand out. Right. But something about him stood out, but not his complexion.
Right.
And that blows my mind that it turned.
I can't believe it's gone, 2,000 years.
Yeah.
And there are still like paintings and stuff of a white Jesus.
Right.
It's like, guys, come on.
Yeah.
This is not cool.
Right.
Jesus out there like, dude, what the hell?
Yeah.
this ain't that looks nothing like me.
Right. Yeah. Blows my mind. I mean, I love church and I love what people do. There are good churches out there.
There are a lot of good churches out there, and there's a lot of good preachers out there.
We were in a church in Kentucky some years ago, and just some good soul people, a lot of salt in the earth going on there. We grew up in a suburb of Chicago, not really having to worry about a lot of things. You go to a different place that gives you a different perspective on like how people grew up, and it changes how you see things, and it changes how like you see a church, how you see people in a community. And for me at least, I grew up in a town that was very snobby, like grew up with money, and if you were or different, or if you didn't line up with them, you were either bullied or pushed out.
Yeah.
So to go to a place where it's like, oh, you have money, cool, do you want to go get some food? Like, these people would rather have a good time with you, get to know you, and spend hard-earned time with you, instead of just being like drifting you out and being like, I'm just gonna go do what the next Kardashian's doing.
Did you have anything else you want to talk about religion?
No, man. I've been very distant with it lately, and I think it's been kind of sparked for some reason, and it's confusing me. Yeah. Well,
it's hard, man, because there's so many different kinds of people out there.
Yeah.
Who can all say they believe the same thing, but don't act the same way. And that's tough, right? It's tough to be a quote-unquote Christian these days when the public agenda is what it is, and we get called like haters and everything like that. And it's like, there's a lot of people out there who are like, God hates gays and, all that kind of stuff. And they're calling themselves the same thing as me. And I'm like, I don't think that way.
Right.
I don't even like using the word religion, because it's more of a relation, like a personal relationship with God. And I don't want to, I don't want to say your God, and I don't want to say the God that you believe in. And language can be so complicated, especially when you're talking about something that is so big.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like we get tied down because we don't know how to speak through that.
Right.
But speaking of things that are, really big and unfathomable, how about that UFO footage, huh?
I didn't see it. Oh, which one? The one from the aircraft?
Yeah.
I have seen it, where it's like spinning.
Yeah.
They have it on like a radar kind of
Dude,
thing.
it looks like Rick and Morty shit.
It does. And what if it is Rick and Morty?
That's what everyone's, Rick. I know. Everyone's like, oh man, it's aliens. I'm like, I think it's time machine.
Yeah. I would believe in time machines more than I would believe in like aliens, honestly.
Why is that?
Because there's a lot of evidence throughout the years.
This is a podcast.
This is a podcast in its own. I believe, look at me.
Take this seriously.
Take this seriously. So there's this old photo. I don't know if it was like JFK or some weird guy. Basically, he was standing in a crowd. I don't know if it was JFK, but it definitely was like in the 60s.
Yeah, I know. I know what you're talking about. Keep going.
And the guy's like wearing sunglasses, and he's wearing like a attire that would be like from the 2000s. You're like,
and he's wearing like a digital watch or something.
Right,
like that.
and you're like, what?
Yeah.
And then there's also like other photos. Like it would make more sense to me that, say in 3,000 years, humanity has evolved. Which evolution, if you believe in it, I think it's both. You can believe in both creation and evolution. Yeah. That human beings evolve.
Definitely.
Which there is scientific proof behind that we evolve from certain beings, certain things, so that we evolve into a higher intelligence, that we become these hyper intelligent creatures that like we figure out time travel or interdimensional travel. Ooh. We are the creations of our own people. That we are the ones that go back in time and start, the pyramids and the hieroglyphics, because there are hieroglyphics or paintings of like spacemen and these different beings, but they say they look like humanoids. So what if, we are in 3,000 years in the future, the earth gets barren and we go, well, we need to figure out a way to fix it, or we need to make sure that what happens now needs to happen in the past because we are those people. Mm-hmm. That'd be crazy. So look at me. If we figure out time travel, we'll come back to the same spot.
Right now?
Right now.
Oh, hey, guys. What? No way.
Wow, I shaved my beard. I wish that would happen. That would make my freaking life.
I would probably pass out.
Yeah.
I'd be terrified.
I would we would probably get caught like in straight like Back to the Future or
Stuff would go down.
What do you think? What do you believe in? Aliens or time travel?
Oh, you know, look, I love Jesus
Mm-hmm.
and I believe in God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I doubt highly that he would create the entire universe and leave it at just like humans on Earth.
Yeah.
There's got to be something else out there.
Yeah, I can see
Whether
that.
it just be just for, pure entertainment.
Yeah.
Or it's
experiments.
Yeah. Or, he's just like, look, there's a whole big thing here. Maybe we'll never come into contact with them.
Maybe.
But, I don't doubt that there's something out there. The universe is freaking huge.
Well, there's that theory of like looking out into the stars and the star you see is actually dead.
Right.
And then that's just a light taking its time to get here.
Right.
Which I could believe that.
And there's the other theory that the whole, like every star that you see
Mm-hmm.
is just like a little poked hole in a big black sheet that's above flat Earth.
Don't joke around. That's legit, man.
No, hey, there are people who...
Look at me.
Hey, can we talk for a second
Yeah.
about flat earthers?
Oh, don't even get me started. You want me to get the first rant in this podcast?
Do you think it's... do you think
No!
they know how... I don't want to say stupid.
They're morons. It doesn't make sense. Like, things would just fall off the earth. So when you fly around to, say, I don't know, Tokyo or Japan, anywhere that takes a long time, you think you just, like, pop off or you teleport to the other side, that it's just some flat piece of shit. No.
Well, what I don't get is they believe in the whole flat earth thing, but if you're in a plane,
Yeah.
you can see the curvature of the earth.
Right. What about the photos of us going up through the space shuttle and they look out the window and they can literally see the curvature of the earth?
There would have to be quite a lot of people involved to hide something like that.
Yeah. Like the moon landing. Do you believe that's real?
I do believe that it's real,
Yes.
but I also believe that if Kubrick wanted to fake it
Yeah.
back then, he could have.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Stanley Kubrick?
Oh, yeah.
This is straight up a Joe Rogan podcast right
Dude,
here.
we're living the dream, man.
Yeah, we are. I'm so alive right now.
No, hey, when did we land on the moon?
69.
69?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if I'm not mistaken,
Yep.
2001 Space Odyssey came out 68.
Really? I've never seen it, actually.
2001 Space Odyssey
Yeah.
came out in 1968.
That actually makes more sense.
And I know we had gone to space before we landed on the moon,
Mm-hmm.
but the fact that that movie was so convincing
Yeah.
and done the way that it was, I don't doubt that he definitely could have made a very convincing moon landing.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
But
I have never watched any of those conspiracy videos
Yeah.
about the moon landing and been like, yeah, this is totally fake.
I mean,
you guys.
there is like one video where like the astronaut's like on the moon and he like falls face down and he uses his hands to like push himself back up, but the way he does it, it looks like he's getting pulled up by like a wire.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I
so
haven't
that's
seen
where
that
it's like
one.
that's one convincing thing, and they say like the flag like moves, like there shouldn't be any wind or anything on there. When the flag like flaps on there, that apparently like that's the wind or whatever in the studio, or someone let a door open, and they never caught that. I mean, okay, if they wanted to make it look good, they would have been like, "Hey, the flag's flapping, like we gotta stop that." That wouldn't happen on the moon.
Right.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
I do think there is some conspiracy going on with space travel and why we haven't gone back to the moon in a long time. And I don't want to believe that bull crap of it's too expensive. They literally just gave us $2.5 trillion to save us from a quarantine. They can go to the moon if they want to go to the moon.
That's true. Well,
They don't need to lie to us.
What do you think the conspiracy is? Because I think there's nothing up there, and they're not learning anything new up there. And they're like, why would we spend another $1 billion to go up to the moon when it's just a big rock in space?
Well, they went like, 5 times, 4 times? They went a few times.
They went a few times, yeah.
I just think that they saw something up there that they're afraid to go back to.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever see that movie, Apollo
18?
18?
Yes. Oh, with the moon rocks?
Dude, my parents hated it, but
Really?
I loved that movie.
I think that was a good conspiracy.
I did too, man. I liked it.
Yeah. I did enjoy that. I love those kinds of movies.
Yeah.
Where it takes like an idea and just twists it a little bit.
Yeah, like something that's you could kind of believe in.
Yeah.
You know? You're like,
Yeah.
I could see that happening.
Yeah, because that movie was like, that's the reason why they didn't go back to the moon.
Right.
Yeah. Or like Transformers 3.
Dark Side of the Moon. Is that what it's called? No, that's
Dark of the Moon.
That's Pink Floyd record.
Same thing. Oh, that's the series we need to watch, man.
A Pink Floyd record?
No.
Oh.
The whole Transformers series?
Okay, here's something that'll blow your mind. Do you know the whole thing with the Pink Floyd and the Wizard of Oz?
No.
So apparently, I've never tried it, but I don't know if this is totally accurate, but I heard this somewhere. I was in like the 5th grade. If you play the Dark Side of the Moon
soundtrack,
like record, it lines up perfectly with the Wizard of Oz. Like
how?
As the score. Yeah, weird.
Let's do it.
We should.
We should do it.
We should, and we should record ourselves doing it.
Did I ever tell you that I went ghost hunting as a kid?
Yeah, who didn't, man?
Dude, I get so ridiculed from my girlfriend about this.
Really?
She almost dumped me because of it. I loved it. I loved going through. Now, do you believe in ghosts?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've seen every single episode of Ghost Adventures at least twice. So if you don't believe in ghosts after that, I don't know what, man.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know how much I believe in those kind of ghosts.
The bro ghosts. Dude, the baby bear is trying to get seed.
No, I mean, and like I said, you know, everything that I sort of believe goes back to like what God says, right? And Jesus, a couple times, not even like people in the Bible, but Jesus is like, I'm not a ghost, it's me. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I think if there's no such thing as ghosts, Jesus probably would have been like, guys, relax, there's no such thing as ghosts, it's me. But he's like, I'm not a ghost, it's me. Right. I'm like, ooh.
Well, he talks about demons, at least.
Well, yeah, I mean, demons for sure. You can't believe in God and not believe in the devil.
Here's the theory, and I think I got this from a TV show, but in Supernatural, and it's an interesting concept, but in that TV show, they've got like supernatural creatures, they've got gods, they've got the God, they've got all these different things. Right. But in the latest season, they talked about how this one like minor god, I think she was like a Greek god of like fortune or luck or whatever. They questioned her. She was like, if there's the big one, like the big G, how is little g made? And they said humans. And it reminded me of in the Bible, we're going back to it, when Moses goes up to the mountain and he's up there for like
40 days.
40 days. He comes back down. They're like, we're worshiping this burning cow so that God. So what if you got enough people with either intense thought or meditation or whatever to believe in something, you know, we barely understand the human mind, let alone what it's capable of. Right. And all of that energy mixed together could turn into this creature or create this thing. RVL did he went to he was telling a story, and I don't want to like butcher it, but basically I think it was with like Moses and God. But basically what he does is God calls out these false idols, and no one responds. But I feel like RVL...
Oh, yeah, like the story of Elijah.
Is it that?
Yeah.
I think it is that.
Yeah, so Elijah is in this city where like everybody worships Baal. Right. And Elijah's like, fine, like let's have a god off. Yeah. And he's like, all right, let's build the altar. And you have, you know, your God rain fire down on this thing and burn up the offering. And then I'll have my God do it. Yeah. And for like days, they try to get a god that, you know, Baal to rain fire down and nothing. And they like start doing all the weird, like, you know, culty stuff, like cutting themselves and orgies and all these kind of weird things. And nothing happens. So Elijah's like, all right, my turn. And he's like, get like 1,000 buckets of water and dump it over the offering, like get it nice and wet. Yeah. And after that, he's like, all right, do it again, get it like even more wet. And then God like comes and burns the whole thing up, and there's not a lick of water left. Yeah. Yeah. Is that the story you're talking about?
I think so.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite stories ever.
That is cool. I like that.
Especially because Elijah, when they're trying to like get their God to do their thing, Elijah keeps taunting him. Yeah, what a
He's
dick. Like, oh, maybe he's on vacation. Like, he says that. He's like, maybe he's on vacation. Maybe he's relieving himself. Maybe he's taking a or something.
That's funny.
Oh, man.
It might have been
I would have loved to have been there.
There was a video that they showed at that time he spoke, RVL, at our church. and he was standing in a room, and he was like looking up at all these pictures, and there's pictures of all these false gods, and he was saying that he's like, my God is going to call these people out, or call these gods out, because they're not real.
Right.
And he was like, where are you, so and so? Where are you? Where are you? And I don't know if it was like somebody else saying that, or if that was God saying that. And to me, that resonated. It was like, well, what if there are these gods, but they're like nothing compared to.
They're just way lesser.
Yeah, they're the little G.
Yeah. Because the Bible does talk a lot about other gods. Right. And you know, a lot of different scholars and theologians and people take that differently. Like for us today, money's a god, little g.
Yeah.
Right? Something that we worship daily and
Right.
might not be in the way that you think of worshiping a god.
Yeah.
But we do. Our jobs, you know, could be a little g god. But no, it's definitely the way that certain, you know, people in the Bible talk about gods. It does sometimes sound like there is something a little bigger than us, but way smaller than God still.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So I don't know. That's I'm not smart enough to have that conversation.
Yeah. But like going back to my thought, like I wouldn't be surprised if the back then humans were, you know, right now we've got so many distractions, but we're on a different level, like mentally and spiritually. And,
for sure.
And being in that time where the world was so new at the time, it was only like 1,000 years old. And if you believe that like the earth is only 10,000 years old or 15 or whatever, which I don't either. It just doesn't make sense.
Right.
Anyway, so it would make sense to me that like if enough people got together, which there was a lot of people there, and they believed in something, that it created something, not necessarily like strong enough, but created a spiritual force,
some sort of force,
right? Some sort of spiritual force that was like. So when Moses came back, he was like, "Bro, I've been gone for a week."
Yeah.
Well, 40 days, but a week.
Yeah.
Like you already believe in somebody else, and then he's like, "I've got the 20 commandments, the 10 commandments." Mel Brooks, love that guy.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're at nearly 40 minutes.
I'm good, man.
Yeah. So again, if you guys have anything that you would like us to talk about, or any questions you have for us that you want us to answer on the podcast, let us know. If you want to be on the podcast, you know, even if it's like we'll call you in just for a couple minutes and chit chat, let us know. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Anything else, Colin?
I love you all.
I too love you, but not as much as Colin. All right. Good night, everybody.
Night.